Good morning. We are going to be finishing up our mini unit on the changes in ecosystems today. It's just been a couple of weeks spent on this. We are going to be starting a new unit on our solar system next. So that's a really fun one. Got a bunch of cool things that we're going to be learning about. After Christmas break is when we will start that unit. So we've heard quite a bit in this unit on ways that us people have changed ecosystems, but also there are natural ways that ecosystems change over time, like volcanoes. We've heard about forest fires and different storms, and over time, just the development of changing things like a field changing into a forest over time and how that affects the organisms that live in that ecosystem. Today, we're going to talk about some ways that we can do a better job of taking care of our environment. And specifically, we're going to hear about reducing, reusing, and recycling. So those are three things. Please remember the 3 R's that we can do just even at your age to try to preserve the resources that we have on Earth as much as possible. So people cause many changes in ecosystems. Some of these things can be helpful because people can be good stewards and help organisms very well. However, others can be harmful to us. We can harm ourselves through our choices, but also to living things. But people are also helping to return or restore ecosystems as much as possible to their natural state. This is called reclamation, which means to reclaim or bring back to the way it was before. Reclamation. Picking up trash on a beach is an example of reclamation. So is planting new trees where a forest has been cut down. Somebody was mentioning that as a good example. I think that their parent had told them, if there's land development in one place, a lot of times they'll replant trees in another area so that even if those certain organisms lost their ecosystem or habitat before, they're going to get a new one, or at least there would be just as many plants and animals able to live in this area where new trees were planted. Now, many countries have laws that protect ecosystems. Some of these laws help control pollution. Do you remember the types of pollution? Air pollution, water pollution, and land pollution. So there are some laws to help prevent that or lessen pollution as much as possible. Sadly, there's a lot of good things that we want for ourselves that end up being bad for the environment. So it's all about a balance. Now, others help protect endangered species. We heard about that in Monday's lesson as you learned about endangered species. Do you remember what they are? They're ones that are almost extinct. They're in danger of becoming extinct. They've almost died out. Now, conservation is a word that we use for the use of our resources. Conservation. Using our resources wisely. Conservation can help protect ecosystems. People can practice conservation, and conserving means that you are holding back in some way. So you're not just doing whatever you want. You're practicing self-control and conserving and using just a bit of something. We reduce, reuse, and recycle as the 3 R's that are part of conservation. Before we get into those 3 R's, here's a few pictures of what we were just talking about. Just saying people can plant trees to help fix or reclaim land that has been logged or mined. We're hearing about mining in Princess and the Goblin too. And it says taking a train or a bus uses less fuel than taking separate cars. This helps save resources and reduces pollution. That's something that in lots of cities is an option, not really an option in Northwest Arkansas. However, we can try to reduce the amount of times that we are in the car as much as possible or carpool. And right now, during 2020 when everybody is at home for work and school for the most part. You guys are really conserving. So the 3 R's, what are they again? Reduce, reuse, recycle. That's right. Re is a prefix meaning to do it again. So that's what's going to be the case with all of these words. Now, reduce means to use less of something. You can reduce the amount of things that you take in. Can anybody think of a way that we could reduce things that would be bad for the environment? Like using cars less, that would be an example of reducing. We could also use less electricity that conserves the resources used to make it. And by that, you could turn off lights of a room that you're not in. And that's an example of reducing electricity. People can also reduce waste by using products that are refillable. So having water bottles that are refillable, or instead of using like Ziploc bags and plastic things, you can use Tupperware instead. That's an example of reducing. People also can reduce their use of harmful chemicals. So we talked about pesticides that are used. People want to use them in order to keep bugs away from their houses and yards. However, we can use alternatives so that it's not actually harmful for organisms. Now, reusing means to use it again. Some of those reducing examples also are reusing. People can reuse containers instead of throwing them away, which reduces the amount that goes to the place where all of the trash is stored. Do you remember what that's called? Landfills. Good. Broken objects can be fixed instead of replaced as much as possible. And also for a lot of you, maybe being really careful with your things so that they don't have to be replaced. So pencils and notebooks and toys, and just being careful with all of those things so that you don't have to replace them as frequently. Giving outgrown clothes away to friends or to a donation center is another example. Now, recycling means to turn old products into material for new products. How many of you have recycling bins at your house? Where you keep cans that have been used up, or glass bottles and glass jars, for example, milk jugs. For example, the plastic in many bottles can be recycled. It can be made into new bottles, carpeting, or cloth. There's a bunch of things that they can make out of recycled material. We can also recycle metal, glass, and paper. Okay, so what are some of the ways that your family reduces, reuses, or recycles? Practices conservation. If you can't think of any, I would encourage you to talk to your parents about it. Ask them, what are some of the ways that we are reducing, reusing, or recycling to help our environment? It's always a balance. We still want to be able to use things and be comfortable. So for example, we are still going to probably drive a car occasionally and not always be able to use public transportation like in this area. However, we can do other things as much as possible to be good stewards of our earth. We want to live, or we want to leave the earth in even better shape for the next generation of people and really take good care of our surroundings. And yeah, just be good stewards of our job here on earth. Okay, well, that is all for today. I hope that you have enjoyed hearing about some of the ways that we have changes in ecosystems. And once again, our next unit is on the solar system. We start that next time that we're together, basically, which is after Christmas break. We've got 2 weeks off, and then we start that new science unit. Okay, there is a quiz on this also on Thursday. Okay, talk to you all later. Bye.